Good morning, students. Yesterday we had ended on the note where we had discussed about the importance of Dharma Sutras and Manusmriti and how they have been a great source of legal codes and rules and responsibilities and how to formulate the rules for the society and administration and those kind of things. So that's where we ended yesterday. Today we pick up from here. Rulers were advised to collect taxes and tribute from cultivators, traders, and artisans. Nothing new. That is being done by all the governments even today, because if you have to run the state, if you have to run different institutions of the state, you have to you have to meet the aspirations of the people, the basic needs of the people. You need to collect taxes, whichever way. And earlier, in earlier times, since 80% of the economy, or probably around 90% of the economy, depended on agriculture, so naturally most of the taxes had to be collected from the cultivating class. Now, were resources also procured from pastoralists and forest people? We do not really know. Forest people and pastoralists, they are the ones who are essentially into things like animal husbandry, and their life is all about animals. Okay, so were the taxes were being collected? We do not really know, but not clearly that we just have no idea at all about it. It is most of the kings would not touch them, okay, because they were the ones who were considered to be the people who minded, who were basically used to mind their own business. They hardly were interacting in the urban settlement areas, so they were the ones who used to mind the people from forest. They hardly in fact ventured out of the forest. So governments were never very keen to send their tax collectors there. In fact, this was one of the reasons why the people, the forest people, the people whom today we call Adivasis, and them, for the first time, it was during the colon. In fact, even the Mughals were never interested in collecting taxes from the people from forests and pastoralists. In fact, it was during the British times that, for the first time, that the British actually started sending their tax collectors uh, to the forests to collect tax, and it was for the first time that these forest people started venturing out of their habitation, something which they had never done for centuries, and they took up arms and against the British rule. And that is why, if you go to the states of Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh, they have some very, very famous leaders from these jungles who are people like Birsa Munda and those kind of people who actually took up arms against the British, because the British had sent their soldiers to collect taxes. But that's for some other chapter, for some other day. Let's get back to this chapter. Now, so we know that it is not that we absolutely don't have any idea. Okay. Now, gradually, some states acquired standing armies and maintained regular bureaucracies. Others continued to depend on militia, recruited often than not from the peasantry. Now, you have to understand, this is also against not. This is also not that it is just about the people in India, or during the Mahajan, but you have to understand that most of the today you have regular armies, students, where you have all the armies are regular armies, where they, even if the fight is not on, the battle is not on, the war is not on, you have soldiers. They are 24 by 7 soldiers, where the state pays for them even when the fight is not going on. But in the earlier times, it was not so. Very few had standing armies. Okay, Romans, of course, had standing armies, but in India, um, standing armies, it was kind of a 50-50. Okay, where a part of was, of course, always as regular soldiers, but then there was a part who would be involved in different occupations. They would be farmers, they would be ironsmiths, they would be traders. But when the state was under threat, when it was being attacked, then of course they would train militarily, of course, from time to time, and then they would pick up their arms, and then they would fight the aggressor. Okay, so this was something which was the most kind of common thing in those times. There were no regular soldiers unless you had a society which was a very, very aggressive society, a society which really wanted to expand and broaden its area of influence. So naturally, those societies would need 24 by 7 armies, regular armies, because they would have to be always battle ready. Okay, in India, have always been peaceful people. So our farmers, our soldiers could be farmers, our soldiers could be ironsmiths. Okay, now first among the 16 Magad, that is, we are talking about the Mahajanpads. Okay, now between 6th and the 4th century before Christ, Magad, that is in Bihar, became the most powerful Mahajanpad. Modern historians explain this development in a variety of ways. Magad was a region where, this is very important, students. Just pay attention. You might be surprised that we are talking about one of the greatest Mahajanpads, one of the most prosperous Mahajanpads, which was Magad, that is today's Bihar, and but this was 2,300 years ago. And just look at the condition of Bihar right now. So you might find it, you know that how can this be true? But yes, it was. Bihar was a different thing than altogether. 2,000 years ago, and 2,500 years ago, 2,600 years ago, because Bihar at that point in time was one of the most powerful places and the kingdoms in India. Okay, one of the most powerful Mahajanpads, very prosperous, not just militarily powerful, but extremely prosperous as well. So, Magad was a region where agriculture was especially productive. Agriculture, because if you go to Bihar even today, you have a lot of rivers. Okay, and they are not just the monsoon fed rivers, they are perennial rivers. Perennial rivers would mean they have the rivers that have water throughout the year, that is all 12 months. Now, unlike, if you must have seen in areas around Dehradun, in fact, for that matter, you see certain riverbeds which are absolutely dry. When around Dehradun, you must have seen, they're all absolutely dry, not a drop. I mean, not a drop means not a drop. Yes, because they are monsoon rivers, they are not perennial rivers. You see water there only during monsoons, when there is water all around. Otherwise, the rest of the year they are all dry. But Bihar is fed by perennial rivers. Okay, rivers like Kosi, Ganga, and so many others, Swarnarekha, you name them and they are there. So that is why